in terms of your team holding on and pulling out this win?
Yeah, I think it was one of those games where we could have found a bunch of ways to lose it. We hanging on to our lead. Second unit struggled a little bit. We lost that margin, and that's a tough position when you put your starters back in late in the game when the momentum swung the other way. So I was happy with the character and resolve we showed to make some shots, to play against a different look. That zone, it's not something you face every day. So, trying to figure it out and stay calm, stay poised, play in principles more so than sets. And they most importantly, showed the resolve after a tough week to get the win.
Michael Grady from Yes Network.
Coach, you talked a lot about the 50-50 balls, the hustle, those little intangibles and winning plays. How would you assess the effort you got from you guys tonight?
I thought it was a great response from the guys. We, especially to start the game, came out, made the extra effort, multiple efforts, played collectively, offensively too, put that energy into the offense. Sometimes we have a tendency to stand and watch each other or to get stagnant, but we moved it. We made quick decisions at that end, and defensively, just the will was there. The will was there to make them feel us. So that was a big improvement from Cleveland, and proud of the way they came out and set the tone, and then found a way to win in the end.
Not a lot of, shot attempts from James. You've talked about, him and facilitating for others. How important is that, especially with him seeing time with the second unit, to help give those guys some confidence?
Well, it's invaluable, his, playmaking skills for us. So often he found guys for layups or wide open threes and created and distorted the defense. So, he wasn't himself shooting the ball. I think he's still trying to get himself into shape. That was a tough little week for him, 3 games in 4 nights, so including a double overtime. So I think, hats off to him that he found a way to contribute when his shot wasn't going and his legs weren't there. He still made a lot of plays for his team.
Greg Logan with Newsday.
Hey, Greg, good to hear from
Steve,
you.
how are you?
Yes. I was worried about you up there.
I know. I just wanted to ask a 2-part thing. You're up 16 at the end of the third quarter. Does this team sometimes have a tend to relax when you get that kind of cushion? And then how hard is it to get started again the way you did in the fourth period?
Yeah, I don't know if it's relaxing, but that second unit is just growing, trying to learn and figure it out and play together. And, they just struggle a little bit, and that's going to happen sometimes. So, they're capable. We got to develop them. The alternative is to play our starters 40-plus minutes. So fortunately, we had a little bit of a cushion, and although we lost the momentum and the lead thereabouts, we still were able to win the game and keep the minutes in a relatively acceptable zone. So, that's part of our development. That's part of taking the long road here and not necessarily trying every night to wear our guys out and not develop the second unit.
Malika Andrews with ESPN.
Mute, Malika. You're on mute. I don't know if it's Greg Logan.
We'll try Alex Schiffer with The Athletic.
Is rubbing off on you? What's the deal, guys? Come on.
Hey, Steve, I got 2 for you. Just even with all these stars, how big of a difference maker is it when you get a guy like Joe going early? And then just my second one is, even though you talked about James, it's only been a week, I guess, where do you think he's making the most strides in such a short time with only games and only 1 practice, given everything?
Yeah, well, Joe was outstanding shooting the ball for us. Also, his energy and hustle defensively and his ability to stick to the game plan, I think, helps us a lot. James is, he's a terrific playmaker. He hasn't got his scoring going yet. I think he's still trying to get himself into shape, but the playmaking is important. I think also his familiarity with the switching defense, is important. So we know where James will get. It's just a matter of getting him there in a safe way.
Brian Lewis with the New York Post.
Hey, Steve. I'm curious. Obviously, this is going to be a weird season where rosters and teams aren't going to look like their normal selves every day. But was that the shot profile defensively that you wanted? I mean, were you getting them, forcing them to take the kind of shots that you wanted? Or was that team so decimated that it's kind of hard to judge that when they're missing those threes?
Well, you can only play the game in front of you. So I thought tonight, Bam was exceptional in the mid-range, but we made him take tough shots. He got
Offensively, look at the job Kyrie Irving did tonight. Kevin Durant, again, big numbers. James Harden, to me, still has to get a little bit more involved in terms of shooting the ball. It's not about what they do offensively. Bam Adebayo, once again, huge performance. But this was a Miami team. 81 points last night. Tonight, 124.
And you have to think Kyrie Irving's thinking about this, Frank. It has to be eating at him a little bit that they didn't have a win with him back in the lineup. And you had to sense that in that fourth quarter, he was showing out to get the win tonight.
Yeah, and I think that probably had a lot to do also with that Instagram post that he had today.
Exactly.
And it's not about Instagram posts. It's not about any battle with the media or the fans. It's about the fight on the court. And tonight, Kyrie Irving was outstanding, especially in that fourth quarter. When the Nets need it, you have a big win, you have a big lead against a depleted team. All of a sudden, they get back in the game. Guys can get tight. Kyrie Irving was not tight out there. He wanted the ball. He was making plays, doing it in a lot of different ways, getting to the basket, knocking down threes. When they needed him to be great, like they did a couple of weeks ago against Utah, he was great.
Joe Harris was on his game in the double overtime loss in Cleveland. Then he lost his touch in that second loss last night. And one of the main things that Steve Nash wanted to do was get Joe back into his rhythm. He did that tonight. He had 20 first-half points, and moments ago, he met up with our Michael Grady.
All right, Joe, coming off of those 2 games in Cleveland, finding a way to pull this one out down the stretch. How big was this win for this group?
It's huge. Obviously a couple of tough games, but able to find our rhythm here early, and then at the end of the day, a win is a win, and we'll take it however we can get it.
With Kevin sitting last night, this is just the second game where we've seen Kevin, Kyrie, James with the rest of the group. I know folks want things to be perfect right away, but what is this process like, building continuity, connectivity out there, and trust?
It's tough. Like you mentioned, this is the second time where we've had this entire group together. It's going to take time. We got to be patient. No need to panic here early. It's one of these things where we don't have the luxury of having a lot of practice time, a lot of time together where, we're just kind of throwing it into the fire. And you really got to be patient with this whole thing.
It was big 4 tonight. You had 7 3-pointers in this game, matching a career high, 20 points in the first half. What were you seeing out there that allowed you to be so aggressive and set the tone for the team?
I think just playing off of those guys, they make simple plays where they're, facilitating, getting into the middle. And, I'm just kind of trying to find space and get room and rhythm shots.
Enjoy the win. Thanks so much,
Thanks,
Joe.
Brady.
The big 3 on the floor, Joe Harris, Frank, is going to get a lot of open looks.
Think about this. In the first half of the game, he was 7 for 11 in the first half. The big 3, 6 for 17. He had more field goals than the 3 of them combined. He carried them in the first half when they were still trying to find their game. And I think for Kevin Durant, start off slowly, had missed the last, hadn't played for a couple of days, missed last night's game. I think it took him until the second half to kind of find his rhythm. Joe Harris was absolutely huge in that first half.
He was, and Kevin Durant was big in the second half. He finished 11 for 19. Frank, we're going to get to look at some of his mastery here, starting in the first quarter with a 3.
And again, I thought in the first half, here, going to the basket, being aggressive, but you can tell a little rusty from a couple of days off.
A little bit.
But this is what you do. You make plays on the defensive end as well. He had a couple of huge plays, including that block that we'll see on Bam Adebayo. Here, I love that. Getting to the basket, a little English. This was a huge play because he gets a clean block. They call a foul. Steve Nash challenges the play. Call overturned. Jump ball. To me, they got to change the rules.
And you know what? Steve Nash last night in the postgame challenged his team to be better on defense, and Durant was leading by example.
Yeah, and certainly in the first half they were. Here, if you're going to leave Kevin Durant open like that, Joe Harris finds him. He's going to knock the shot down. Here he is, isolation again on Goran Dragic. He cannot handle Kevin Durant, who's going to hit the little floater right there.
And Durant with the turnaround jumper here. This was during that run, that 8-0 run to answer Miami's 13-zip run, and that actually had Eric Spoelstra call a timeout there. And I love the title of this graphic. Our people, Sam Hickey back there in graphics, tremendous. Stuck on automatic. Season notes, 25 or more in the last 12 games, 20-plus points in all 13 games, and 30-plus in 5 straight home games. That's second at all time to do that, Mike Newland as well. So he was a little rusty to start off this game, but he really picked it up in the second half.
In the pregame, we were talking about where do you think his game is right now, and did we think he's a lot more advanced than we thought he would be? And to me, the answer is absolutely. And I think what we're seeing, everyone knows that Kevin Durant is a great player. But now that he's in a Brooklyn uniform and we're watching him every game, you just see how good he is. Even on nights when you're thinking, all right, it's going to be an average game for him, he still puts up monster numbers. The guy is just an elite scorer. And Kyrie Irving, with the 18, carried them. But Kevin Durant did have 7 in that fourth quarter.
You said monster, and I thought of Monstars from the old Looney Tunes Michael Jordan movie, Space Jam. And that's exactly what this big three is for the Nets and what they could be.
First win tonight.
Yes, first win for them. So first of many. Steve Nash is hoping for that. We're going to hear his thoughts when we come back. We'll also get the final thoughts of Ryan Ruocco.